Hello, welcome to the Low-Code Café. This is the episode number 194 for for Wednesday, February 25th, 2026. Today's main topic, we're going to talk about Forms 2.0 preview and building smarter forms in Plantain App. So this will be a hands-on demo of our new Plantain App Forms feature, the early release. And we'll build a contact form, explore some new layout options, and preview some advanced features like repeaters, and put some buttons on the form and do some actions as well. So we'll get into all the details of that in a few minutes. But first, let me introduce myself. I am Dale Warner, Head of Support for Plantain App. This event is one that we do every month, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. In the last Wednesday of every month. Usually, it's an opportunity for us to get together and just talk about what's going on with Plantain App, the new features, spend the most amount of time on hands-on low coding, so we can demonstrate how you can get things accomplished with Plantain App. We record all these and put them on YouTube, so you can get to that on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/plantainapp. Today's agenda, very simple. We'll be doing a brief from the trenches of support segment, and then we'll go right on into our hands-on low coding. We do ask that you engage with us. There's a chat window or the Q&A area. You can raise your hand if you would like to ask a direct question. And then at the very end, do take a look at our feedback form. We'd like to know what you thought about this webinar, or what you might like to see in coming webinars. As I mentioned, this is presented at the last Wednesday of every month, so the next live webinar is scheduled for March 25th. All right, from the trenches of support, mostly just mentioning some our current releases and installing hotfixes. So our current release is version 1.28. The previous one is the only other one within our support window. Version 1.27 was released in June of 2025, and so our standard support until window is 1 year out. So that'll be supported at least through June of 2026, June of this year, and there are some hotfixes for that. And then the current version was released in January 12th, so that's be supported at least through January 12th of 2027. So let's take a look at, I have a 1.27 version out here. I'm just going to cover hotfixes here because many of you are on this version. And then, as is our practice, we just install whatever hotfixes have been released since the last time we got together. And in this case, there's just one, the cumulative hotfix batch from February 3rd. And this is a fix having to do with very older implementations of DNN and Plantain App. DNN used to support something called object qualifier. If you don't know what that is, you're better off, I think. But it's a opportunity to put multiple DNN implementations into a single database. And that has since been a retired feature, but we still support it so that clients that used that very early on, years and years ago from DNN, can still upgrade or use Plantain App. So this was a fix for object qualifier. And just as a reminder, to install these, you would just come in here, click the select button, and then click install all updates. I'm going to do that now, although I'm not going to wait around for this to finish. It'll take just a couple of minutes. As a reminder, when you just our standard pattern is that in order to upgrade to a higher release, so from version 1.27 to 1.28, you will have to install all the hotfixes first, and then install the latest version. This helps to make sure that everyone is installing the version from the same place, and reduces the number of times, the amount of things that can go wrong, because everyone's following the same path. Um, and so maybe a typical how to install. I'll just throw that up on the screen. I'm not going to go over it. I've done this before, but you'll typically if you're on a version of 1.27 or really any version and you want to upgrade, the plan would be to get a nice backup, install all of your hotfix updates, and then you'll be in a position to be able to upgrade. And we always advise that you, whether you're doing just a cumulative hotfix or a complete new version, that backup is always advised in case you need to go back. Happy to answer any of those questions. Just open a ticket on support for how to go about that. So I will encourage you. The conversation after today will continue as we'll go back and forth on it a little bit on Friday. We do every week, we do the Low-Code Campfire. It's this same hour, 10 a.m. Central Time every Friday. And so we'll talk about the Forms 2.0 plus any topics that you want to talk about. I'm going to put on the webinar chat some links. So this would be how to register for the Low-Code Campfire, how to get to our recordings on the YouTube channel, our community portal, great place to get your pose questions to the community as a whole, not just to support. We monitor the community portal and we'll answer your questions there, but lots of our clients watch and see questions that get asked on the community portal. And so sometimes if you want a broader um, review of your question and maybe find somebody who's been there before, that community.plananapp.com will let you pose questions there and get answers, and also opportunity for you to help out your fellow low coders. And then there's that link to that form I mentioned. If there's something that you want to see, please use that webinar feedback form. All right, let's go on with hands-on low coding. We're talking today about Forms 2.0 preview. And here's kind of the top bullet points about where we're going today. I'll give an overview of what this is, and we'll talk about how that relates to action form. We'll talk about the new form building experience, a little bit on security, show you the field types that are likely to be available in this first release, and then we'll spend most of our time on a demonstration and hopefully can show off the nice new features. We'll finish up with a question and answer session. So Forms 2.0, just at the highest level, it's a modern form engine for enterprise low-code applications. Action Form has been a product around perhaps 15 years or so. I don't know the exact date, but it is one of our core products and still very strong component of anything that you'll build in Plant and App. But it has a very long history and it has grown up over time. So initial features and then features stacked on top and things that individual clients needed over time. And so it had uh, just has a long history and tries to be all things to all people. We have started over, starting from a clean architectural baseline, doing it the way that encompassing everything we've learned from Action Form and doing it ground up. It's security by design, so security is taken as a first thought as we do this new product. There's some certain as far as user experience and layout, there are things that you are difficult to do layout wise within Action Form, and so we wanted to provide better control over how your controls get laid out. We want to there's some data collection capabilities, and we're going to look at one of those, the repeater control, to be able to get things like family members or line items, many items for one form. So that's a capability that we've often had call for and we wanted to build in. We still have many different field types. So as the product evolves, we'll have phone and money and all the different kinds of fields that you would expect. And we're taking everything that we've learned in providing those kinds of fields with action form and try to make them easier for you as a low coder to put on your forms. And then because it's from the ground up, it's just built to try to make this a long-term project for the future, trying to do it and not accumulate more technical debt. So feature parity with action form. So action form is the existing um, functionality, and we want to have it be as backward compatible as possible, and yet improve the capabilities that we're bringing to you. So our goal is that it's going to have the same core capabilities, and many of the action form features will continue to exist essentially the same way in Forms 2.0. Going to have improved implementation, so better, easier ways to be able to design your forms. And then we are intentionally modernizing it. So some things, certain legacy features, if something exists in action form that is in conflict with where we want to go with Forms 2.0, some of those lesser use things might not be ported forward. We'll talk when we get to the very end, question and answers, we'll talk about how those um, how action form will convert to Forms 2.0. We want to provide a modern form building experience, and you're going to see this is what I hope to show off today. So we're going to have settings on the left and your canvas of where you're working on the right. It's going to use drag and drop field types. It's click to access the field properties, and we have a new design construct called containers that will allow, and this is the thing that's going to enable the different layouts that we have available. I'm not going to get into the slide too much, but it's security by design. This was engineered from the ground up with modern, secure development principles and components, and it's designed to be secure for you as you publish websites and be able to have users interact with your forms, and yet to do that in a secure way, to pass penetration tests if you're at an enterprise level where that's important to you. But we want it to be secure, and so this is a deliberate architectural decisions to make that be possible. In the preview, which again, we'll get into that in question and answer when that'll be available to you. It's not available yet, but probably in the next couple of weeks, people who are interested can do that. It's initially a modest set of controls. We're going to try to get these things right and then go on to build out the many different form field types that we will eventually release. But to start with, we'll be able to have buttons, the repeater control that I've already mentioned and will display today, the container for layout, and then the three probably most common input controls, the drop down, the text area, and the text box. And we'll see all these today. The demonstration is going to be that we're going to build a contact form of sorts. Probably that's one of the most common starting places people do with action form, and we assume will be the same way with Forms 2.0. By the way, Forms 2.0 is a bit of a placeholder. I don't know if that's what it's going to be called or something else, but it's our next version, our second version, major version of forms. So anyway, we're going to build a contact form and have some SQL entities to store the data. We're going to collect core details about a contact and then have a category, save some records into the contact entity, and display the confirmation that we've created that data, and then showcasing some flexible container-based layouts. Once we get that far where it's up and working and nicely laid out, we'll go on to collect multiple family members for one contact. And so that's going to be where we get into using the repeater control. And you'll see how we can use a for each action to work through the records that are being created. A repeater is going to create a list. And so if you're familiar with working with lists, you'll be able to iterate through that list and do something with it. So this is where we're going, and so let's do it. I'm going to make sure everything is warmed up here. And in a shortcut to our time that we're going to spend today, I am going to export some entities that are on my preparation system, and then we'll just explain them rather than typing them all in. The first entity that we're going to deal with is the category entry. Every contact, as they're as we're entering a contact, they're going to choose a category for their question. And so let's see, we'll export the category entity, and we'll input it here, import it. Then we'll just review this real quick. So it has a name of category. I'm going to put this, I've created a page to put all these, and so we'll just have the entry form go to the system data. And all the category has is a name property beyond the other system properties that are come in by default. And so we'll save that. We can put in any number of categories here, but I'm anticipating we'll have two categories, a general question and maybe a coverage question. So we'll add that. So creation of, by importing that entity, it created all of the assets necessary to do add, change, and delete, so we can add new categories or maintain categories. And this is for perspective, this is our as a system administrator, you need the ability to create categories, and so that's where we're starting. The next one that we're going to do is I'm going to do family members next. So on our entities, I'm going to import family members. So this is we'll take a look at it again. I'm going to put this in the system data page just as a place to put this on our menu. But this is going to be where you could input family members. And so family members have two properties, their name and their relationship to the contact that we're going to, that'll be the next entity that we do. And so we'll save that and merge it. And for now, we're not going to put in any family members. We'll see how that works in just a second. And the last entity we're going to do is a contact entity. So I'm going to export that and import it. I'm importing this one last because it takes advantage of both category and family member. And so kind of importing it in the same, having the foundational elements there first so that we can, so this can import without issue. Again, all this is going to be on a system data page, just a page that we can maintain and look at these things, but it's not what we're going to present to our end users. The properties of this of a contact is some basic demographic information, so their name and address, their phone, their email, the category, which comes from our category entity type, The family members is a list of family members coming from our family member. So this gives us a nice, very specific behavior, and we'll look at it here in just a second. So let's do that. Let's save and merge those changes. So far we're just using the core out of the box Plant app functionality. We can now add a contact. This is using the old product. This has nothing to do with Forms 2.0. We're going to get into Forms 2.0 in a second. So we can have a test person with an address. I'm being very simplistic here. No special field types or anything. Everything is just text and no validation. Just trying to keep it as simple as possible. And so we can we have the ability to add a contact, and if we drill down into family members for this contact, we can add people. So if we go back to looking at contacts, we can see that we have the test person. They have two family members. So this is just core Plantain app creation of data structures and using action form and our listing module to be able to manipulate them. And all that is created for us automatically by entities. So now we can finally get to the fun part. We have a data structure that we can use so that as we create a new form, that we can work with these. And so our goal is going to be somebody fills in a form, and all of what you just see here can be entered on a single form, and it will create these records. So finally, here we go. We will go into edit, and we're going to add a module to the page. The new product is, it shows up as form. We don't even have an icon for it yet, so it's just form. We add it to the page and drop it there. And it comes in and says that it's not configured, and we're going to go to manage. And so we'll start managing this. This is going to be our, and so now we start to see the new layout. It is, it's going to be somewhat familiar to you. So right here at the top, we see it's got a place to name it. And so I'm going to call this our contact form. And so areas on the left-hand side, we see some controls. So these are the things that you would use to build. These are the settings overall for the form. And then over here on the right is our canvas with a main container. The first thing we're going to focus on is a text box to collect all of these fields that we, let's see, where did that go? Same fields. Let me get it up on my screen so I don't lose it. So we'll be collecting name, address, email address, phone, category, and we're going to start with just the simple ones. So the experience is that you drag a text box onto your canvas, and now you can start working with it. When you click it, the settings appear on the left. So this helps overcome one of the first things that it is an improvement, I think, over action form. Just clicking the item brings you to the properties, so you don't have to scroll down a big long list and find your form field and expand it as you just click on it. And so hopefully that'll be a better experience. So much the same way as with action form, we're going to name it. So this is going to be the name of the person. Notice that this is the way that it shows. This is the ID. This is very similar to what we do with Plantain app. And I am not going to configure anything besides just the basic functionality. So we'll just continue dragging things out and naming them. The next one is going to be the address. And I'm going to check here. I think if I look in yeah, this is just called, the field is going to be called email. And so as I design this one, even though the externally it's going to show email address, I'm going to uncheck the auto. And as you may be familiar with, the internal name for this one is going to be email, even though it shows as email address. And we'll have a spot for phone. And that's it so far. So without anything else, I'm going to stop and save and just show you what we have to start with. So I'm going to go back and look at the form. We see that we have side to side all the area of whatever was the container that we put this form in. Then we have name, address, email address, and phone. And we can click and navigate through there and type in things. Of course, we can't do anything yet because we don't have any buttons. So that would be buttons are needed. And then we don't have in our entity, we also have description, so we can capture a description. And so I haven't got that on here yet, and then the category isn't on here yet. So let's do description. Bring it into the container, and this is going to be called the description. So I picked a text area, and you can see that it renders much taller. You have a rows selection, so it defaults to 10 rows. And then the last one that we wanted was the drop down. So this gives us our 3 core tools. And on the drop down, this is going to be called category. And we need a data source. I am going to use SQL. And so I'm going to get this. I'm going to build up some SQL from, I want to do it from the category here. And in case you're curious, I'm using SQL because in this early version, we don't have the entity data source working. So the easiest way, the right way, would be to say that you want to base it on the category entity, but it's not working as of today. So I'm just going to use the SQL functionality. So I'm going to select ID as value, and then name as text. And we run this query, and notice we get the values and the text. This is the kind of information that you need to use to populate a drop down. So you have a value and a text. And I'm just going to put this in order. And which it already is. And so this is our pattern for SQL. And so I can use this here in our design. So I'm going to choose as a data source. I want to do a SQL query. And so now we get the parameters for SQL query. It's connection string timeout. And here I can paste my SQL. And so with just that much, I'm going to save it and make sure that our form gets that much done. So we have our name, address, email, phone, description, category, and the category is showing our dropdown. So we have good functionality so far. As a developer, there's a technique. Let's start with buttons. I often put a button on my forms that reveal all the values that are present on a form. And for example, this is just a debugging button, and I would say call it something like show values. And in the actions, we'll add an action that will take everything that's being returned by the form and put that into a token, and then we'll display the token for us to examine. There's a couple on our design canvas, there's this ability to drag this out. So now I'm focusing more on the the properties and want more room to work. If I wanted still more room to work, there's this button which just expands it to the full width and pushes the canvas out of the way. So on the action that I was mentioning is a JSON action. It's called context to JSON array. And I'm going to use that, and I'm going to store everything that's on the form. You can see the description of this thing into a token called tokens. And then there is another message, self-document here a little bit. And then there's another action called error message. So display error message, and we can do an error message where we take the value tokens and display it. And so with that, those couple of steps, when we refresh the screen, we now have a show values button. When we click it, we get a error message that has all everything that's in context, basically all of our variables being displayed. So now we can test and take a look. So and so when we fill out the form, we can see name has Dale, email has an email address, description has my hello world message, address says city, phone has a phone number, and category has a value of 2. Anybody who is familiar with dropdowns knows that in action form we return in addition to the base token, we also return a text and a value and some other properties. And in this early implementation, we're just getting the value coming back in the raw token. So just a little something to note. We're still working on getting it, but it's enough to be functional. So what we've done is have a layout, and we've proved that it can work and return values. So now what can we do with it? Well, we want to create we're going to have a save button or a submit button, and we want to get all this information into our contact table. So pretty straightforward. We'll now add another button, and we can hide if we want to, the show values button. I'm just going to leave it here for now, but this is going to be our submit button, and the button style, I'm going to make it be a primary button. Just for fun, I'm going to say that it's going to be a full width button, and you can see interactively that what it looks like on the screen when you do that. So the canvas is giving you clues about your work. And so the work that we want to do is to create a new contact. And so our action for that is there. And now we can fill in the blank with all the properties from the form. And that here quick. Remember, email address, we called it email as a token name. And we want to look that up. You can click here. And so here we have email address. The name of the item shows up at the top, and in this information icon, notice that we see uh, um, that it returns email. It's a token called email, and you can copy that to the clipboard. So that's our method if you want to copy and paste that. And so anyway, we go back to our submit button, and we could paste that, and it would work there. And in the same way, for example, with category, we could see category is supposed to return category text, category value, and category path, but it's currently not. But it is returning category, and that's what we need. So we could go to our submit button and paste that there as well. So one small improvement there, the brackets are included when you copy and paste. Um, so it's helping you do the right thing as you're filling in these blanks. And then finally, description, and I'm just going to type it. So this is going to create a record for us, and for consistency on my other, I'm going to use the same name here. The output token is going to be called new contact record ID. And so once it's created that, we get to see it. And then I'm going to add another action here. So this is self-documenting, create the contact. I'm going to add another action, which would be there's a display message action, and I'm going to say contact was created and display the new contact record ID. So we know we get nice confirmation that it happened. And so we'll save. So let's test this much. So we're going first for functionality, and we'll make it pretty here in a minute. So we have so it says contact was created to. If we go look in our system data at contacts, we can see, make sure all the fields come in. So Joe, Dallas, the phone number, email, category. We have no family members, but we haven't accounted for that yet, and the description. So all that's working, and so our form is functional, and so now we can start working on let's do pretty. So now we get into a little bit into containers. So by default, we have a main container. If I want, for example, um, name and address to show next to each other, what we can do is add a container. And this container has some properties. Uh, and this direction has to do with um, how things that you put inside this container are laid out. So they can either be stacked vertically, or in this case, we want them horizontal, so they're side by side. So by doing just that much, we can drag name and address into this container. And because it's set up as horizontal, they show up one next to the other. We can rearrange them if we want, but name and address like that. We'll do the same thing. We'll do another container for the some of the other fields. So we'll put in this container, I want that to be horizontal. So we'll put email address and phone and category all in the same one. So they'll appear on the same lines. So with those couple of container changes, and I realize this is a little bit mind stretching trying to work with containers where action form just did kind of a default layout for you and you rearrange things. So a little bit mind stretching, but you'll get it. It's pretty easy. So now we have name and address showing next to each other, and because we didn't, they're taking up again the full width. We have email, phone, and category all next to each other. So we're starting to improve the layout. So another um, these two containers are just showing up in the container one are showing up inside the main container, and everything's just stacked vertically the way we want it, the way that it's showing on the screen. I'm going to use a couple more containers, and this is where, again, it starts to stretch your mind a little bit. But I'm going to put in a vertical container, I'm going to put our name and address and our email type information together in a container so that they all flow together. Now, the impact of this isn't really going to change much yet. They are all together in their layout, but I've just they're all in container two, but we haven't done anything with it yet. So what I'm about to do is going to be something that is one of the layout things that are harder to do in Action Grid now, or excuse me, Action Form now, and so kind of showing off our new capabilities. Yet another container. This one is going to be in a horizontal layout. And so this is the thing that's going to allow me to put description of this container that has all of these other things inside of it. So now they all flowed together, but now I can put description in there too. And now they're side by side. So we have a left zone that is all of our fields, a right zone, which is description. And so now we get this layout, and this was previously not possible. Action Form, you could put things all on the same row, but then these things would float down into below description, however far description line took. And so now we're able to achieve this new layout. And so we've completed part one. We have done a contact form backed by entities, and showcasing some flexible container-based layouting. So now it's on to the fun part. Let's do the repeater. We want to collect family members. You might, I'm just going to bring that up, that family members have names and relationships. And so that's the thing that we want to collect as many family members as they want to report on their form. And so that's going to go on this page here. So let's do that. And this is the last control that we have available that we haven't run yet. So we'll just explore this. I'm going to put it above our buttons for right now. The repeater control is, and I've done some experimentation already, so I kind of know what I want to call things. The label of this thing is going to be family members. And I'm doing that with a space, but it's going to be called family, the name by default, family members without a space. But I want to be pretty explicit with this. So I'm going to call it the family repeater, so that I know it's a repeater control. We could call it family list or really anything that you want to, but for today, we'll call it family repeater. The direction, I want the fields that I'm going to put inside this, again, we have to specify, and I want them to be side by side. I'm going to ask for the name and the name and the relationship. And we got a nice question on the chat asking about responsive. These will be responsive. In the current version, they're not responsive. So changing of the size, this is going to work for a nice big screen layout. If we looked at it on a phone layout, it would not come out well. So lots of distance yet to cover with Forms 2.0. All right, so we have a repeater that has family members, and each family member is going to have two text boxes. A text box for their name, and I'm going to call it name, but since name has already been used elsewhere in my form, I'm going to call this member name to be explicit with the internal naming. And then we'll add another text box into this that is relationship. And for consistency, call it member relationship. So just by adding the repeater, and there's a couple more things I want to configure down here. There's a couple of fun properties, entry name, and I'm going to call it family member, and entry title, and I'm going to call it member name. Notice I'm using the token that's coming out of here. So with just that much configured, let's see what we get. So our form now has family members. That's the repeater. We have a button, add family member. That comes from the name. When we click it, it shows family member one with the name and relationship. If we click it again, we get family member number two. So you can add as many as you need. And then if we type that, because we're using member name as the entry title, we're seeing it resolve. And so as we type, we're seeing it there. And then there's some collapsibility here. So if your family member is the information that's on your repeater is extensive, you can open and close interactively. We also get a delete control over here so that if you want to remove, if you have added Jim and you don't want to add Jim, you can hit remove. You'll recognize these. Are you sure you want to remove things? I'm sure that we do want to confirm the removal. We'll probably have to give you something besides these default yes and no answers. But anyway, yes, I'm going to remove Jim. And so now we're left with chain. So we get the UI that we want. Well, and then while we're playing with UI here a little bit, let's drag family members up into our layout and get it the way we want to. So now we have our name and address block. We have a family member block and a description block all on one line. And so now we look at it and we have these three zones. And so all this is happening right here in the middle. So again, giving you more layout things than you had previously, and working quite easily once you get the hang of it. There was a question along the way about identifying when we click on this name control. Notice up at the top here it says name settings. The information block tells you that it's a text box field. It's hidden in the wording there, a normal text box field, but versus a drop down, if you click this, it'll show you that it's selecting a value from the list. I've already put in a feature enhancement that would have these the type of control be showing either explicitly up above the properties or within the text. So yes, kind of that's the direction that we're going. Glad you like the nested containers. Okay. So now that we have this UI working, we want to consume this. We want to have it automatically, whatever family members that they fill in, go into the family members part of the database. And this happens on our submit button, and it's just going to be another couple of actions. And so we'll add those now. So the first action is there's a create new family. Oh, I don't want to do this. Wrong action. We want to add an action that is for each. So execute actions for each list entry. This is going to be handle adding the family members. And this is going to be something that we can do after we create the contact. So we have to, the for each is the thing that's going to give us the ability to work through a list. Let me get my copy and paste going here. And so the list, as we talked earlier, the list name is going to be family repeater. That's the name of this element right here. So it's going to work through family repeater, and then it's going to do actions, and the actions that we want to do, this is where we want to do family member. And so the name of the family member that we want to do is from the family repeater list, the member name, and the relationship is family repeater member relationship. So this is going to automatically add them to the family members, and this gives us an ID, which I'm going to call it the new family member ID. And so now, so this is, and now we want another action, which is add family members to contact. This is the thing that gives us the relationship between this family member and the contact. And so the new family member ID is this, and the new contact ID is what I typed earlier, and I'm lazily copying and pasting now. So we're saying relate this contact that we just created, which to this new family member that we just created. And then finally in our message, we're going to update this a little bit. All right. So now when we use this form, let's put some information in here. Notice when I tab, the containers are processed left to right, top to bottom. So that's another feature of containers that you might want to take advantage of. Here's where I give you my real phone number. And we pick a category. And so I submit, and we get a nice message. And if we go now and look at contacts, we can see contact 3 and my question, my 2 family members, and they are added correctly. So this is the sum of this is the total of what I wanted to show you today, that we have basic form functionality ready. We have the repeater and the layout, and so giving you new options on that. Since we have a couple more minutes, I am going to demonstrate in our layouting. If we look at this container, this was a horizontal layout, and the layout mode was unspecified. The choices are automatic and manual. Automatic is the default, so that's what was happening for us. If we wanted to, I'm going to go to a manual alignment mode, because notice that these don't really line up. We got, let's say that we wanted these fields to be the same width as the fields below, that rather than overlapping the way they do. I mean, this is just preference stuff, but we can narrow down the field by using some handles, and again, we'll narrow down this one and scoot it over a little bit. And so interactively, we can accomplish different sizing. That's really still not quite there, but we'll tinker with it a little bit more, a little narrower there, push this out a little bit, push this in a little bit. Maybe we can get there close. We've got to nudge that over one more time. Oh, rearranged it. That wasn't good. Got the wrong handle. There we go. We're still working on this layouting. Right now, it's a little bit tricky to get things exactly where you want them in terms of clicking and drag and drop, and some things are really quite a challenge to get where you want them to go. So we're working on that, but as you can see, it's certainly possible. And then little stuff like this that I would expect address and family members to be vertically aligned and things like that. So details that are yet to come, but the functionality is there. So I'm going to move on into a question and answer session. And I have a few questions that I suspect you might be asking, but if it's not any of these, or if you had thought of some questions, now's a great time to ask them. And I don't know, I don't have the question and answer window open, and I don't have anyone helping me today, so nobody calling attention to that. All right, so when will this be released? We expect it to come out in the next couple of weeks. As you can see, there's so that core functionality is there. It's not going to be everything, but the only reason that we cannot release it today is that we we haven't worked out all the dependencies, meaning that when we get it to a releasable point, it will work with all the latest hotfixes. And right now, it's all a little bit up in the air, and so there's only specific versions that work with specific versions. But a couple of weeks, and I guess this would be a great time to mention if you're interested at all in participating in getting hold of this. If you would open up your chat window, just send a chat to me and give me an email address where you might like to um, be notified, and I will let you know that it's available. All right, how will licensing work? So we expect Forms 2.0 to be, if you have licensed action form, then Forms 2.0 will be available to you, and there won't be any separate add-on licensing required. It is in the form of an add-on, not in terms of licensing, but in terms of installation. So you'll need to navigate to our updates add-ons and click to add it on. Early releases might actually need to grab it as a install from URL, but either way, we'll make it available to you. And then the last question that I anticipated you might ask. Actually, there's one more that I didn't put on here, but we'll get to that. Will action forms be converted automatically? And the answer is, well, no, not automatically. Yes, we're going to provide a mechanism where you get to choose, I would like to convert this action form into a Forms 2.0, and that form, so you'll have on a form by form level the decision to migrate it. And when you do, um, I would expect that most of the functionality is going to transfer, or most common functionality will, and then you'll need to review it and check the functionality for your specific circumstance. There are definitely going to be differences, and so form by form, if you convert them, you're going to need to test. Another approach might be to leave your action forms alone and add Forms 2.0 forms going forward. The last question that I had, thinking about presenting this to you today, I was trying to anticipate. One of the things that I wondered about was repeaters within repeaters, being able to have family members that have children. And In our first release, the answer to that is going to be no. I think there's already been some steps, but I think we'll get there. And I think that'll be nice because it'll support scenarios like I want to have a customer that has invoices, that has line items, and that scenario will require repeaters within repeaters. But at the first iteration, it's just going to be top level repeaters. Uh, and then there is a question about if controls be able to be initialized while the form is open, like a drop down that that depends on a choice made elsewhere on the form. Um, that um, that can be done in action form now, and I expect that we'll see something like that in Forms 2.0. And then in action form, one of the capabilities that are present is dynamic fields. Not a lot of people use them, but it is an advanced topic that's available. Dynamic fields can only be added to the form when the form gets initialized in the first place. I fully expect that um, things like repeaters will accept a list as an input, and I would expect that a button you'll be able to push a button and send a list to a repeater. So, for example, to be able to go out and look up related information and get that, in a create list from SQL, for example, and then send the list to the repeater. I would expect that to happen. Currently, and I didn't uh, in this preview version, the output side of repeaters is working, meaning we're able to fill in a form and get the list. The ability to push a list into a repeater, which would be necessary, for example, on a form load, um, that currently is not functionality that's built. It will be built, but it's not there yet. Just going to check for any other questions. If there are, if you let's put it this way, if you think of something else that you want to ask about Forms 2.0, then a great place to do that will be on Low-Code Campfire 2 days from now. Look forward to your thoughts about what you saw today and where we're going with the product. We this is a very big and core piece of what we're doing and what we need to do to have a great product, and we'll be looking forward to providing that uh, in the versions yet to come. Thanks for spending your hour with us, and we will see you again in a month with Low-Code Cafe and Friday Low-Code Campfire. Thanks all.